Mastering the art of taekwondo is not easy, but more than a dozen students between kindergarten and second grade are one step closer celebrating their accomplishments with a belt ceremony.
This is just one of several activities that are part of Galapagos Charter School's After School X program to help students broaden their horizon. These martial artists participated in a 10-week session so they can be awarded a belt based on their level of experience. The instructor says these skills help kids succeed beyond their makeshift dojo.
You have to be doing well in school to even be in the program. And those scholars that are in the program, if they're acting up in their homeroom class, that can follow them right over into taekwondo. If they're not listening to their homeroom teacher, it is a possibility they could lose their belt rank.